Trump's tariffs. Why they'll hurt Americans more than the world. Donald Trump's tariff talks sound tough on paper, but here's the reality. Many products the US imports simply don't grow or get manufactured in America, which means tariffs won't protect jobs. They'll just raise your grocery bill. Hi everyone, welcome to my channel Market Insights by Rajesh Sharma. Let's break down the real cost to the US consumer and why Brics nations are smiling. If you are new to my channel, please like, share and subscribe, and do share my videos with your investor community friends. The US logic behind reciprocal tariffs. Reciprocal tariffs are nothing but charging other countries the same import tax they charge the US exporters. But it is different now. Trump's pitch: level the playing field for US manufacturers, reduce the US trade deficit, punish unfair trading partners like China and India. There is a flaw. Works only if the US produces those goods domestically. Otherwise, it's just a consumer tax. In other words, the consumers have to pay more price for the goods they are imported. Imports like bananas, coffee, spices, 0% domestic production, but 100% cost passed to the consumers. European Union charges 10% tariff on US cars. US may impose 10% on European Union wine, but US does produce wine. Consumers have a choice. Not the case for bananas. The tariff percentages on major countries, current and proposed. China, 7%, 7.5% average tariff under Trump era under the Phase 1 deal. Proposed hikes up to 60% on certain goods. European Union average tariff 3 to 4%, but higher on cars 10% and dairy 35%. India high tariffs on alcohol 150% and rest 50% on all electronic spices etc. Brazil moderate tariffs. US imports soy, beef and coffee. Tariffs here hurt in food inflation. Mexico and Canada low tariffs under USMCA, but Trump proposes blanket tariffs if trade disputes arise. These are blunt tools and high tariffs on non-substitutable goods, leading to instant consumer price spikes. There is a challenge from the BRIC countries. Who are they? Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa. Expanding to Saudi Arabia, UAE, Iran, Egypt, Ethiopia. And what is the trade impact? Many key imports come from BRICS nations: coffee, tea, rice, spices, energy. BRICS is pushing for de-dollarization, settlements in local currency. US loses dollar leverage. BRICS controls massive commodity supply chains like oil, rare earths, grains, metals. So there's a tariff war at risk. BRICS can retaliate with tariffs on US exports like aircraft, soybeans, machinery. Could divert trade flows to non-US markets, weakening US farmers and manufacturers. So a tariff war with BRICS nation could backfire, hurting US economic interests while strengthening alternative trade blocs. These are the products not produced in the US. Some of them are bananas, coffee, tea, spices like black pepper, cardamom, cinnamon, rice, mangoes, cashew nuts, vanilla beans. For these products, tariffs cannot stimulate domestic production due to climate and agricultural limitations. Now, for example, the banana example. How tariffs become consumer taxes. Importer is paying the tariff, for example, 10% tariff on imported bananas. Cost gets passed down to wholesalers and retailers maintain their margins. Consumer pays more, so the average bananas cost more to the consumer. In large cities, millions of pounds of bananas are consumed weekly, resulting in billions in extra consumer spending nationwide. Why consumers will feel it first? Importers pass tariff costs to the wholesalers, who in turn to the retailers, and then consumers. For non-substitutable imports, price elasticity is near zero. Consumers can't switch to a local product. Grocery inflation will spike without any increase in domestic production or jobs. So there's a higher import cost, food processors impacted, restaurants affected, retailers adjust, consumers pay more. So there's a ripple effect through the economy. Tariffs on non-substitutable goods create cascading effects throughout the economy, ultimately reducing consumer purchasing power without creating domestic jobs. BRICS response is de-dollarization. Currency settlements. BRICS nations are increasingly settling trade in their own currencies, reducing reliance on the US dollars. New payment systems are coming up. Development of alternative payment mechanisms that bypass US controlled financial networks like oil are coming up very soon. Reduced US leverage. As dollar dominance decreases, so does US ability to influence global trade through financial sanctions. When do tariffs make any sense? When you have an alternative way of domestic production which the US doesn't have for most of its goods. Infant industries, unfair trade practices, effective trade tariff policy requires nuance and targeting, not blanket application across all imports regardless of domestic production capacity. So there's a breakfast table impact. Morning coffee prices 10% plus at cafes and grocery stores. No domestic alternate available. Fruit ball, bananas, mangoes, and other tropical fruits see immediate price increases. Seasonal availability becomes more expensive. Spice cabinet, cinnamon, vanilla, pepper all cost more, affects both home cooking and processed foods. The average American household could see hundreds of dollars in additional food costs annually from the tariffs on non-substitutable imports. So, what is the bottom line and what are the takeaways? Tariffs won't work. Tariffs work when you can replace imports with domestic goods. But when you can't, they are just another tax on your pockets and it will pinch your breakfast, lunch, and dinner costs. In a world where BRICS nations control much of what America imports, tariff wars may not make America great again. They may just make it more expensive. So MAGA will just be a headline only. Understanding the difference between strategic tariffs and consumer tariffs is crucial for evaluating trade policy proposals. If you have if you found the breakdown useful and the video interesting, please hit the and share button and share it with someone who drinks coffee every morning and subscribe for more real world economic insights. Thank you. See you in the next video.